Hello Leeds United fans, hope you're all doing fantastically well. It is Connor here and we are back with another topical video. Listen, I know you guys are really enjoying these. I really appreciate your support as always. And we're going to be speaking on changes that Javi Gracia may have to make for the game against Liverpool. We all know that this is going to be a test of so many parts of Leeds United's game, and we will have your preview live tomorrow, potentially with a special guest, who knows. We'll see what happens, but tomorrow there's going to be a live preview where I want your guys' thoughts, your guys' comments as well, guys. Generation Leeds is going to be out on the Patreon tonight. It is well worth it, honestly. Head on over to the Patreon. All the proceeds go towards the running of the channel and facilitates me being able to do these sorts of videos every single day. It means that you guys can get more content every single day, and I know everybody normally plugs their own stuff at the start of videos, but yeah, I feel like I should do that a little bit more often because, guys, there's good content over there. So if you want some bonus content, which isn't just me waffling, I know you like panel debatey stuff, hence why you like the debrief and other people coming on the channel. You've literally got that on Generation Leeds. Honestly, go check it out. If it's not for you, you don't have to stick around, but I definitely advise it. So anyway, let's get on to the video. Changes that Leeds United need to make for this one. Why do we need to make changes for this one? Well, there's so many things to consider here. But for me, Max Verber is huge in this game. Leeds' defensive record when he's been out of the side has been pretty poor. If we're being brutally honest with ourselves, it's been pretty poor. And I think we saw a little bit of a boost with Pascal Struijk. I am not going to hound out Pascal Struijk at all. You guys know that I still think he's a terrific player. I think he's another Leeds United player who, and when I say terrific player, I mean technically. I think he reads the game pretty well for his age. But I don't think he's had a good season. I don't think it's been helped by managerial changes, by, obviously, hampered by injury at points, been left out of the side, been playing left back. You know, he's been playing in a narrow system, then a wide system. And I think that can be attributed to a lot of Leeds United players. But I think definitely Pascal Struijk has been subject to that. But he was really poor, really obviously poor against Crystal Palace. I've said before and I'll say it again, I wanted years ago, and probably last year actually, Robin Koch and Pascal to form a bit of a partnership, you know, both like 6'3", 6'4", both decent in the air. I thought that'd be a real domineering, commanding back two. And I still think it has the potential to be that. I just think Leeds need a bit of stability for once in a season, and we've just not had that. The stability is never there with Leeds United, whether that be a consistent back four, whether it just be a consistent run of no injuries, you know, the same manager for a season would be nice. So I think there's a lot to consider when it comes to Pascal, but Verber coming in would be a massive help. I think he'd shore up the defence. I think I've called on before. I don't know how much of a leader he is. I've not seen enough of Max Verber yet, to be honest with you. But I think he's more of a leader than Pascal and Robin, who are very meek and mild. And I think that's always been my worry with these two. They are very, very timid, it looks like, when it comes to centre-backs in the Premier League. You know, there's athleticism there, there's physicality, there's height. But are they aggressive enough? Are they tenacious enough? Do they have the leadership skills that a centre-back in the modern game does need to have? I'm not so sure. So Max comes back in for me, if he is fit, and that is a change I would make. Something else that we need to consider is the concussion protocol. It looked like Junior Firpo had gone off with a little bit of concussion. Now, there is a 10-day span when there is a concussion that has happened in a game. That would take Junior Firpo past the Liverpool game, which is definitely something to consider. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure Javi Gracia will clear that one up. But there is definitely potential for Pascal Struijk to go left back there. Now, if he does go left back, that is going to be a significant change because you're going to have, Mo Salah up against Pascal Struijk, and we've seen that before, and it doesn't end well. We've also seen Mo Salah versus Junior Firpo, and that doesn't end well. So, listen, we know Mo Salah is one of the best players on planet Earth, and his goal record is absolutely staggering, and he has scored against Leeds as well numerous times. So we do have to keep a lid on him. It's easier said than done, but listen, there's an issue with Leeds at the minute. I think it's the quality at the back. I think we are horrendous at the back in terms of quality. That needs to be something that the club needs to focus on in summer instead of just signing wingers. So if Junior Firpo is fit, he will remain there for me. And we'll see how he does. I just don't want him to get another yellow card. Please, Junior, don't get another yellow card, especially if you're up against Mo Salah. But there's definitely potential there. So they're probably two changes that you're looking at, especially if Junior Firpo is out. I wouldn't change Robin Koch out of this. I think Koch has been the subject of a lot of inconsistency. I think when he was next to Verber, he was playing really, really well. So maybe just that partnership with him and Pascal hasn't got on as much as we expected, because, Nottingham Forest were still able to maybe split the defenders a little bit more than we would like as well. John Joe Shelby, especially in the last sort of 20 minutes. But Palace, I mean, there's got to be changes. Now, Luke Ayling. This is where the squad building is verging on horrific. I know there's a lot of people who are clamouring for Rasmus to come in. The issue is you have got two, for me there, championship fullbacks. Rasmus Christensen, for me, and I hope he proves me wrong, like Junior Firpo has proved me wrong, is nowhere near good enough for Premier League football. So there's the problem. Can you leave Luke Ayling out, potentially affect his confidence even more, and bring Rasmus Christensen in? It's a real difficult one, because Rasmus, for me, is not mobile enough to deal with any of Liverpool's front three. I don't think he's athletic enough. I think they would bully him. They would interchange. He's not quick enough to deal with them on the inside and the outside. I don't think he's good at reading the game as a fullback. And Luke Ayling at the minute has put in some absolutely horrific performances, and deserves to come out if football and team selection is based on a meritocracy. Pause. Rasmus should be played against Liverpool. But can you afford to do that? Who's better? I think Luke Ayling's better. I think Luke Ayling cannot defend, but I don't think Rasmus can defend. So then what are we working on here? And that's where you reference the squad building again. It's just been horrific. And that's where you look at Cody Drame. Is he worse than Rasmus and Luke Ayling? Well, if I'm quoting those two as championship right backs, Cody Drame is absolutely flying for third place Luton at the minute, with the potential of them, getting into the Premier League next season. Was Cardiff's Player of the Year in the Championship. So you would expect him to have an elevated status over those two, logically. That's from my perspective anyway. That's what's going on in my head. But overall, Luke Ayling is probably better going forward, even though his cutbacks at the minute are just horrendous when he's on the overlap. So I'd probably keep Luke Ayling. I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Let me know in the comment section below. So there's potential for 2 or 3 changes there. Now we're moving to the midfield. You can't do much, can you? McKennie and Rocker, there's been conversations about arguments and this, that and the other. We've no idea if that happened. Listen, if they're having arguments at half-time because of Mark Rocker being a moron and giving away a free kick like he did, which led to their goal for absolutely no reason whatsoever, when we'd been burnt by set pieces in the previous 2 minutes, then I completely understand that from Weston McKennie. I also completely understand Luke Ayling digging him out, and I actually quite like that from Luke Ayling. This isn't giving him any sort of slack when it comes to his performances on the field, because they've been absolutely horrific, and Rocker can give it him back for the past 2 or 3 games. But for me, it's got to be Rocker and McKennie in there. And we're probably going to get into your preview very, very soon. Obviously, tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow evening. But let me know what you guys will do. There's probably going to be a lot of people wanting Greenwood in there. Not for me at all. But we don't really have that many options for sure. It's got to be those 2, hasn't it? Now, moving forward are going to be the interesting ones. So for me, Willie's got to come back in. And the reason I'd want Willie Gnonto back in is because I think there is a real opportunity for him to hurt Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, when we're talking about fullbacks who can't defend, I think that's laid, I should say, at Trent's door way too much, because I do think he's a good defender, actually. And I think it's just social media which paints him out to be a horrendous defender. He's not a horrendous defender. I don't think he's that efficient, but I don't think he's a bad defender. But Willie Gnonto can hurt him. Now, I wasn't a massive fan of how Willie Gnonto acted against Crystal Palace. I thought he was indisciplined. I thought he was almost looking to get sent off. But I also, with a footballer's mindset and a competitive mindset, which I certainly have, I can understand how frustrated he was at the end of that game. And you can almost turn that and spin that into a winning mentality, because he wanted to come on and he was frustrated. He wanted Leeds to give him the ball. He was getting none of it. And anytime he did get the ball, he was getting swamped. So for me, there is frustrations there for Willie, and I will give him a little bit of slack. I think all this rubbish about him not starting the next game and not coming on because him wanting to get sent off, which is just people creating a scenario, which it's hypothetical, isn't it? So I don't think any footballer is trying to get sent off. I understand the argument, but I also think that he was just massively frustrated, not getting enough of the ball, as we didn't give Sinisterra enough of the ball when he was hurt in Crystal Palace, brain dead, and we went the other way. Nonso came on, he wasn't getting enough of the ball for me, and that's why he probably got frustrated. And I can, as I say, from someone who is highly competitive as well, and sometimes on a football bit just throwing his dummy out the pram, I can completely understand that on a higher level. So yeah, Willie comes in for me to hurt Trent Alexander-Arnold. Bamford or Rodrigo? Hold-up play, very good at points. But I'm actually getting to a point now with Patrick Bamford where is his hold-up play that good? Do we overrate this guy? I used to have arguments with Brownie. I've had arguments with multiple Leeds fans about Patrick Bamford. I do think Leeds fans, over a period of time, have overrated Patrick Bamford. I think in the Championship, when he was with us, scoring 16 goals with that side was almost a disgrace. He should have been on 40 goals, especially with Pablo Hernandez in and behind him. And the amount of chances he missed when he was in the side this season. He was in the top 5 big chances missed when it came to statistics. And he'd played a third of the games of Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, Mo Salah, etc., etc. Sometimes like a quarter of the games, and he was in the top 5. Injured all of last season. Come in for this season, he scored, 4 or 5 goals. And now I'm looking at the other side of his game, which is the hold-up play, the link-up play, which I think is massively overrated by a certain section of our fan base. I think the ball bounces off him a lot. I think when we're talking about hold-up play, the best part of Bamford's hold-up play is when he wins free kicks and almost falls into the centre-back. That is the best part of his hold-up play. When it comes to link-up play, I think marking Patrick Bamford is pretty simple. I really think it is pretty simple. You just rely on his first touch, because his first touch, when he's picking the ball out of the air, is notoriously extremely poor. Very, very poor. It'll bounce off him. Opposition players will get in and around him and nick the ball off him. I think if you press on his touch, which Liverpool are going to do, especially if Leeds go more direct, Liverpool are going to get a lot of joy from Patrick Bamford. So if we're playing a little bit differently, and Rodrigo's dropping deep, let's say, is a hypothetical scenario, and we're not lumping it, and we're actually able to play through the thirds a little bit, which I'm still not convinced about Leeds in possession under Javi Gracia. I'll be brutally honest with you. I'm still not massively convinced on Javi Gracia, by the way. I think he's done a good job. I think he's done a decent job so far. But and I've praised him, of course I have, but I'm not massively convinced yet. There's a lot of people getting very, very excited. Give him an 8-year contract. He's the second coming of Bielsa. Calm down. So yeah, for me, if Rodrigo's dropping deep and he's able to link play between, let's say, him, Nonso, Sinisterra, and they're able to interchange quite nicely. Obviously, he scored against Liverpool at Anfield, a gift given to Leeds earlier on this season. Does he start? I think for me, he does in this game. Because I think if Leeds are trying to play through the transition, he's dropping deep, being effective, holding on to the ball, but also playing it out at the right times and using his brain. I think Leeds can hurt Liverpool at points in this game. And I think his effectiveness as a forward is going to have to be better. I think that the criticism I always have with Rodrigo is sometimes I think he can be sloppy, very, very sloppy in possession when he's got a lot of time, very similar to Brendan Aronson. So for me, that is something that Leeds should look at. Leeds should look at in terms of being able to get Rodrigo in there instead of Patrick Bamford, and maybe working the channels a little bit more as well. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. Fascinated to hear what you think on this one, because there's several selection headaches that Javi Gracia has got, and sometimes in a good way, really, because he does have options. Now, Brendan Harrison is another one who, you know, I came on here and apologised because I got his performance quite wrong the other day. I thought he was ineffective in the second half, as I think he has been for 99% of the season. But I think in the first half he was okay. He was all right. But that needs to be more consistent from him. I don't think he offers any goal threat whatsoever. But in this game, I guess he shows effort and endeavour. So maybe that's going to, unless you're playing Sinistera, Harrison and Nonto in behind Rodrigo, which I think would be reasonably effective if Harrison decides to turn up, you're going to have Brendan Harrison in there, aren't you? So interesting discussion points here, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We will be back with your preview very, very soon. If you want some bonus One Leeds content, some panel discussion, head over. The link is in the description below. Generation Leeds, well worth it. It's going to be a bumper episode this week where we're going to be talking about things that maybe we wouldn't get away with on YouTube with our brash, I should say. We are with our discussion points over there. Guys, I hope you're all okay, and make sure you're keeping upbeat. Let us know all of your comments in the section below, like what you're thinking, all this sorts of do you agree, do you disagree, and I will see you in a bit. Cheers.